Hey everybody, this is John. Let's dive right in and take a look. So it all started today with Amazon. Yesterday, Amazon was, everybody had pinned their hopes on Amazon and Google that they could potentially save the market. Amazon came in, actually beat earnings, but was light on revenues, and the result was the expected move was like $100, so it dropped to $144, so about 1.5 times the expected move, and essentially that was the end of that, or was it? So if we look at Google, also fell, but actually went positive at one point. Obviously, it's still in a downtrend, right? But actually recovered for the most part. Expected move was about $55 and was only down at this point 22. So that's a respectable kind of a move there. But then, of course, if we look at the NASDAQ here, just selling, selling, selling. Now, what was interesting is that we did actually have, and I always say that the funnest rallies are bear market rallies because they're so fast. So this is a 200-point move that happened in about 85 minutes. So that's the kind of stuff that happens kind of during bear market rallies. So the main thing is that you just want to be careful about shorting. Like, it's like, oh my God, this thing's going, I got to short something. That's about the worst. And then it's just kind of figuring out, okay, from there, what are good levels to short, right? So the main rule of thumb when you're looking at this with these new tools is that you never, ever, ever short moves into these lower bands. You're just asking for trouble, okay? Where can you short? Ideally, what I like to see are moves into, essentially for big swings and stuff like that, it's always the 4-hour pivot. That's a great kind of a level right there. And if you start seeing some overbought kind of a signals, now obviously in a volatile market like this, you're not going to pick the absolute dead high, but at least do not ever, ever, ever short into this. Okay, so at least it kind of gives you some boundaries. And then I always also like to look at the Qs, because keep in mind that while the NASDAQ does trade overnight and that those levels do on the NASDAQ form overnight, sometimes it's easier with the Qs to kind of see the gaps and stuff like that too, and then the pivots being involved in here will be a little bit smaller. So in this case, you got all the lower levels here, and at least wait till you get into some midpoints before you would even consider doing some kind of a short trade. Okay, and you can even see over here on the bigger time frame, when you're slamming into this essentially daily lower, again, worst place to short. So it's the same thing when you're up here, it's kind of like the worst place to load up long, right? So just kind of keep that in mind as we're going through these huge swings. And of course, on something that's a little bit quieter, this is a little bit easier, but this is what we've been doing with TLT. I mean, you just kind of, when it comes down into lower level and you get the oversold readings, you buy. If it comes into the upper level and you get the overbought readings, you sell, and it's just like a game of ping pong, just to kind of keep it simple. All right, so what about for next week? We are at the key level here in terms this voodoo line, the red one, that's a big mambo jumbo. You can see the last time here in February, this was a level that got crushed through. So we do want to keep in mind that February was pretty nasty. The sell-off right now is about the same length. It just, the one in February recovered faster. It was like 2 weeks and then it was done, and then we were kind of flopping around. This one's still pretty persistent. So this is really kind of the key level where we're at. It is about if I'm doing Fibonacci's, this is about a 786 retracement between this low and this high. So if this level can hold next week, we'll see some short covering, at least recovery, back up to the 21. If this goes, then things could get pretty ugly to the downside. Keep in mind that we are very, very, very oversold here. The other thing I like to look at here on this is just where are we on the VIX. Okay, the VIX also has to retrace and revert back to the mean. And if we come in here and we can see this and say, okay, remember, when the VIX gets up into these upper bands, you get the retracement, and we get the retracement in the VIX. That is when you get the rally in stocks. Okay, so guess what? We tested it again today. So it's very, very likely next week that we actually pull back to that daily pivot again, which would mean stocks rally. Okay? All right, and just a reminder, this special will be running out here shortly. These are our two recently launched indicators. They've probably, in terms of feedback, they've been the two favorite that people have seen in a long time in terms of just being able to kind of catch these ebbs and flows. I was just looking at them, so I know this is a little scrunched up on here. But if you go to simplertrading.com/tools, we just did a class on these, and now they're being released to everybody who didn't take the class. What we're doing on this special is that you can get the multi-snap tool, which is $397 in our store, and the multi-range tool, which is $597 in our store. You can actually get both of those for $597. All you got to do is scroll up and look right there, and you will see where you can do that. But again, this has been, in volatile markets, this has been incredibly helpful, but this is even better in slow markets. You can actually just sit there and literally catch those ebbs and flows. This also includes 2 half-day live trading sessions, so you can actually see how these work in real time, which we'll be doing on November 1st and November 7th. Okay, in terms of a game changer for your own trading, this is something that I've seen impact more people positively than anything else, simply because it's so straightforward and easy to see. Meaning, like, oh gosh, here we are, we got multiple oversold readings on RSI and stochastic on the key time frames that we're looking for, and then from there you can hold on to it. And it's like, oh, guess what? Now we are overbought, and we flip them out. So you can do this in the bonds, right? You can do, and just kind of, you just generate cash flow like that. And then over here, we're looking at those bigger levels. If you come into daily lower here, that is a buy, and you flip it out at the midpoint, and it's just over and over and over again. So if you're interested in this, I encourage you to take advantage of this special. Otherwise, you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you at the next update.